attachment styles. Now, how anxiety affects the brain. We talked about this yesterday. I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to spend as much time here today, but the parts, the prefrontal cortex. And I want you to see this, that the amygdala and the hippocampus are connected. Remember, the hippocampus is where memory is, and the amygdala is where emotion is. Okay. And so the memory and the emotional center are very entwined and connected, and also the olfactory, so the sense of smell is around in there as well. So this is important because when we get triggered, right? When something happens, actually, I asked Joy, were you okay with doing that?
Sure.
Oh,
What
yeah,
am I
you
doing?
did. Yeah, you did. Okay, you
Yeah,
responded. Oh, well,
I did.
I'll let you know it's time. But we're going to use
Okay.
that for an example, Joy. Okay, for example, we'll just to kind of walk through it.
Okay.
So thank you. So the amygdala, remember, it's the alarm signal. It's for stressful situations, and it's the amygdala when a memory comes up. Okay, right? A memory when a trigger happens that reminds subconsciously, that reminds us subconsciously of a time when we felt threatened. Then and I'll give an example real quick here, and then I'll have Joy do it. So and a young lady who was she was having some difficulties at work. Okay, she was having some difficulty. Actually, you know what? I'll give this example. I'll give the example of when I was in Guatemala and I was talking. So there was another dear young lady there who was in a class with me, and it was just us two, and there was the teacher, there was the instructor, and the instructor was a young lady. She was very competent, very good, and her and the other person who was in the group with me, I'll call her Anne, who was in the group with me. They were kind of subconsciously butting heads a little bit, right? And then at the end of the class, at the end of when I was leaving, because I was there, I did it for a week, and then Anne was going to be there for longer, so she was staying longer. The instructor said to her, now she was just starting. Okay, she was just starting with Spanish. So she was just starting to learn, and so the instructor said to her, you need to practice over the weekend. You really need to study over the weekend. Okay, that's what the instructor said. Now, after that, so we left and we went and got something to eat, and she was really upset, and she couldn't shake it. So she shared. I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "She told me I'm not good enough." And I said, "She didn't say that. I was there." So in that moment, when she said that, I knew that had nothing to do with what had just happened. Like what that teacher, the young teacher, said to her, that wasn't really what was affecting Anne. That wasn't really what the issue was, but it was a trigger. And what happened was her saying that was a trigger because it reminded her of another memory. Now, this was subconscious. This was going on in the background, right, for her. She didn't know either. But it reminded her of another memory that she had where she had an experience. So I asked her, I said, we connected later. I said, okay, look, I think this is about, she gave me permission to ask her these questions. I said, I think this is about another memory. I said, do you remember a time when you were growing up? Because usually it is. Remember we said the programming that happens from 0 to 7. It's the programming. That's when that central nervous system's being developed, and those memories, the belief systems get developed. So from what I knew, what I discerned from this principle was that she had a program, a faulty program in her mind, in a faulty memory that said, I'm not good enough. And now when this instructor said, you need to study, you need to really study this weekend, she heard, I'm not good enough. And so when I asked her, is there a time? And usually often what I'll do is ask, because even if that's for you, if this is a situation that you know that's in your life, you can ask Holy Spirit. That's what I'll say, is there a time, do you remember a time when maybe you didn't feel good enough? A message up. Sure enough, so we asked Holy Spirit took back, and she remembered a time where she was sitting at the table with her parents, and her parents were they making her study, and she struggled in school, and so in those earlier formative years, and so that memory came to her. So in connecting those, right? So we're able to connect that, and then go back and just again have Holy Spirit go back and heal that memory, and go back to give new messages, truth messages to that, right? Kind of like reparenting that child. But so what happened was, in that moment, that memory, there's the hippocampus, somebody says something outside, external stimuli, but the internal senses are reacting, and it's the belief system, and it's saying there's a threat here. When that happened, her systems and her amygdala took over because it does that, it hijacks the prefrontal cortex. So reasoning is gone, because the amygdala thinks there is danger. So it sets off that smoke alarm. It goes, danger, danger, watch out. Sets off the alarm, and then all of the systems, the alert systems, get engaged, and then chaos basically happens, right? Because the systems, the brain, the central nervous system, thinks that it is threatened, it's in danger. Then it goes to make meaning of that. So when it happened to her first, when she was a child, the meaning was, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me when it comes to school. I'm not good enough. So then the environment of school became a threat. Teachers, so it makes all these associations, because it says, okay, we got to go ahead, we got to find a way. Remember, we talked about the systems, right? It creates the system. Central nervous system has to create a system to save time, to automate. So it goes, okay, let's see, what's everything that would be connected with this threat? We have a threat here, we got to make meaning. Let's make meaning of this threat. This threat means, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be successful in school. I'm just not good enough. So we got to be aware of all teachers. We got to be aware of authority people, because this happened to me when I was a kid. It was my parents, so authority. We got to be aware of that. And when we go around teachers or authority, our alert will be up, because we have to be safe. Okay? And that's kind of really how the process goes, until we give a new message, until we send a new message to the systems, and we say, okay, we retrain, which we're gonna do some of the things, talk about some of the things that helps us to do that, right?
Lisa,